budget forwards not delivering, differential shining, and can I just say, it is absolute havoc for those who activated a wildcard last week. The third most wildcards played in all time of any game week through the 20 seasons worth of data. But what do we really make of it, and what assets are probably standing out right now? There's a lot to discuss, and we're just eager as per usual. Welcome to Gameweek 5 FPL Addicts Podcast. Honestly, we could vibe to that all day, but let's just say, boom, boom, boom. What a panel we have got for Game Week 5. Without further ado, everyone's going to come out of their closets at once, and we have got Reidy on the top right-hand corner. We've got Rev on the bottom left. Mate, what are you laughing at? Seriously.
Just that everyone's going to come out the closet at once.
Yes.
Just what an intro.
There you go. Yeah,
but like Pride Month was last month. We were all celebrating them, mate. But you know,
that could mean one of two things. It could mean Pride, or it could mean Jimmy. We won't say his name.
Jimmy. What a start! Why? What have I entered into already?
Let's wind it back in. There you go. Wind it back in.
There you go. But more importantly, we've got a wonderful guest on once again. She appeared on last season, and one of the known content producers in FPL Australia as well. It is Meera. Meera, welcome back to the FPL Addicts Podcast.
Thank you so much. I am in absolute giggles before the show has even started. So thank you so much for having me back on, guys.
Yeah, I think Mikey's done a great job of throwing Chaza off there, Meera. And
throwing Chaza off? Like the man throws himself off. Like he absolutely walks into it every single week in the intro. He says something different that just like sets me off. Like, Chaza, you need to warn us about your absolute shenanigans, mate. You know?
Yeah.
And even hitting us there with the Meera on the wall, who's got the unluckiest bench of them all. Like, you know.
You said that before.
You know what? I've had that since I was a kid.
Yeah,
I've had that since I was a kid. Yeah,
I was going to say, I bet you've never heard that one before. Like,
oh yeah, no, that and like my last name is Pancania, and so I used to get pancake. You know, like a lot of that as well. It's like, oh gosh, okay, yeah, carry on.
Fair play.
Yeah. Mirrors and pancakes, eh? What a combo!
Yeah, I know, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Anyway, FPL, anyone?
Yeah.
we can
with the side of pancakes. Yeah.
Yeah. I might need a nice, delicious treat, actually, looking at my team to help me feel happy again.
We're starting with you, Rev. That's how we're going to go. And then after you, it's going to be Meera, Reidy, and then myself. So, Rev, how did you go in Game Week 4? And were you one of those that decided to have João Pedro as well?
No, I actively avoided João Pedro. I was on a wild card last week. I'll get up my points from last week.
Okay.
And then, so not a lot going on. I think, obviously, Haaland's the only player there with an attack and return, which is crazy. I think I did want to avoid João Pedro, not least for the fact that he was with the Brazil squad, but also if we take a look at Brighton's fixtures from game week 6 all the way to game week 11, I really, really did not want to be tripled up on them at all. I think, you know, I've got enough fires to put out in my squad, and we know that FPL can change in the blink of an eye, and I don't want to be playing my Brighton assets if I can help it against the likes of Chelsea, Spurs, Newcastle, Liverpool, City. You know, these are all the worst possible fixtures in the game. And so, you know, if people have wildcarded into Triple Brighton, that's something I wanted to really avoid. Obviously, instead of João Pedro, I went with this gentleman, Yoane Wissa, and he was hauled off after what looked like a pretty nasty ankle injury. So, yeah, he's a possible fire that I need to put out. At the moment, I was hoping to roll the transfer as every wildcarder does the week after they use their wildcard. And then I obviously benched a little bit of clean sheet points in Jacob Greaves as well, who got a 6-pointer at Brighton. And so, it's not looking great for our hero, as they say. But you don't just wildcard for one game week, and moving forward, I'm actually really quite happy with the team. I might even just bench Wisa and just play everyone here, even the likes of Nketiah and Eze. They play Man United, who've been leaky at best, and using a bunch of transfers right now when I could actually wait for some information is one of those things that decent FPL managers tend to do. The only move that I could do would be Wisa to someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but I'm an Everton fan and I'm not ready to be hurt again. So yeah, that's my game week, and that's my thoughts on my team.
Yeah, not bad, pretty sound. I know, yeah, it was just an uneventful game week. And Meera, did you have the same, or was it more a bit up on the higher end?
I've had a good. I'm going to see if I can share. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, please, if you're able to.
Yep. Yeah, no worries. Hopefully that's the right one. Okay, here we go. I actually had a decent game week. So 60 points. Got me a green arrow, although I was really surprised my safety score was quite high. So it was not looking good for me. I think obviously Pedro didn't play, and so I got Gabriel's bench points. So I had a pretty jammy week getting that outcome. But yeah, similar to you, Reidy. I'm sorry, Rev. Where
it's all right. We're both scouts.
My backline was. This is true. my backline wasn't looking very good. So Porro with the 2 points, 2 points for Robinson as well. I was really gutted about the clean sheet that Fulham lost there right at the end. That was ridiculous. That was like after 90 minutes as well. So wasn't happy about that at all. But yeah, Henderson, I'm really disappointed with that pick. I don't know what I was thinking with it. Maybe Palace could have kept like one clean sheet so far, but it's been awful. I think when I was thinking about who I would have gone with if it wasn't Henderson, it probably would have been Raya. And there's like a 20-something points difference between those two picks, and that kind of sucks. When you think about it.
Yeah.
Smith Rowe, I think between Smith Rowe and Muniz was where I was at, and I went with Smith Rowe. So really happy with that pick right at the beginning of the season as well. Isak has been an absolute nightmare, and one of the conundrums I've got for this week. Pedro, I only brought in Pedro game week 4, so really disappointed with that. I took out Havertz to bring in Pedro, and yeah, look, my transfers were awful. Yeah, I took out Quansah, brought in Trent, and then I took out Havertz, brought in Pedro. And it did nothing. My transfers did nothing. It was just, I don't know. It was just, what is the point with these transfers? 2 free transfers and they did nothing. Anyway, got Gabriel points off the bench. Super jammy, 60 points. Took me to within 20k. I'm happy for the time being anyway.
What a start to the season as well, I must admit.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with where things are at. Like, I feel like I've had a good, lucky couple of game weeks. I think even captaincy calls, I've not been captaining Haaland all the way through. It's been a bit of a mixture. So yeah, happy where things are at the moment. But yeah, it's not looking good for game week 6. So yeah, there's a couple of issues in the team there already. I've only got 1 free transfer, so yeah, not sure.
Thank you, Meera. That's an almighty start indeed. In game week 6, it's going to be a big discussion point as we get into it in definitely a handful of moments' time. Reidy, over to your side now. Thank you for sharing. Meera, how did you do, Reidy?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, well done, Meera, on that game week. I think Gabriel's definitely been the saviour of the season so far for you. But yeah, for me, it was a little bit more underwhelming. 41. Watkins, I wasn't brave enough with his minutes being managed lately. I wasn't brave enough to go there with captain. And I went with Palmer again. So,
But you have seen Everton play, though, haven't you?
Yes, I have. But
if I don't laugh, I'll cry, mate.
Every game up until that point of him playing near enough all the game, he'd been brought off at 60. So there was that doubt. And Cole Palmer's that 90-minute guy, isn't he? He's the heart of Chelsea, if you want to call it, of all the players they've got. So I went first, what you'd call probably a safe pick. Didn't turn out to be the best choice. But yeah, Saka got a return, which was great. Martinez got me no points because of Everton. So thanks for that, Rev. But
we can score goals. We just... we're having the complete opposite problem of last season. Last season we could keep clean sheets and couldn't score goals. Now we can score goals and can't keep clean sheets.
Yeah.
So we need Branthwaite back, to be honest. But anyway, that's another talking point.
You need to hold a 2-goal lead as well.
And Michael Keane as well leads. Oh God. What was that?
That was specifically for Chaza.
Was that one of those breaded fingers from one of those desserts? But yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, João Pedro, I started him and Rodgers ended up coming on. I did Wildcard the week before. I mean, talking about things that haven't gone well, and that for me was taking out David Raya, who I did have at the beginning, and also Haaland. So those two things haven't gone well for me. Oh, and also Smith Rowe. So those three players I would have liked to still had. But what has maybe gone well, and the flip side of that is taking out Nkunku, taking out Isak, and taking out Lewis Hall, stuff like that. So because Newcastle haven't been great. So yeah, I'm feeling a little bit positive, hopefully, on the next game week coming up. And certainly on my captain pick. Hopefully I get some points from that. That would be nice. But yeah, 41 points all out for me.
Can I ask you a little question then? How are you feeling moving forward with the likes of Luis Diaz and Diego Jota both hooked at 60 minutes and also possibility of minutes being managed now with Champions League fixtures?
Let's talk about that. I mean, who sprints and who just walks off bench?
I can't even. I saw that happening, and I was just like, "Dude, just slow down. Just slow down. Just kind of like back it up. Like, come on."
I don't blame Jota though. I blame Slot for making early in my opinion, two early substitutions. But I get it. We've had international break, and players might be a bit leggy, and they might have been planned substitutions. But from an FPL perspective, definitely frustrating that he's lost those 2 points. I didn't care too much, just because, in the grand scheme of things, would it have made that much of a difference? Like, no.
42 points would have been your game week,
No, it's 2 points today, so he would have been 43. So if he'd have been my captain, maybe, you know what I mean? But in the grand scheme of things, like I say, it's not that much of an issue. I don't think in the meantime, for me, it's not that much of a problem, just because I'm getting rid of them. I'm getting rid of Jota in game week 7. So I'm going to hold him for this week. I'm going to hold him for Wolves away next week. Yeah, minutes might not be great, but I have got players that are capable of coming off the bench. I think he's, if there's any leaks and stuff.
So just to, if anyone's joining us for the first time in a few weeks, just to give a bit of context, Reidy is determined to go into game week 7 with 5 free transfers.
Wow.
I'm willing to bet that you don't make it. Only because
I'm turning doubters into believers.
No, mate, your intentions are great, but Gvardiol, again, another player who's clearly rotation risk at the moment. João Pedro is an issue. We've seen his minutes being managed. Cole Palmer, is stats wise, has been a bit of a nightmare, and his heat map is way off from what we saw from last season. He doesn't have that freedom anymore. Watkins, potential injury. Diego Jota and Luis Diaz both having minutes managed. you know what they say, mate. You're either brave or you're stupid. And I'm beginning to lean towards one or the other.
I mean, I know what you're saying, but I think a lot of people are going to be in the same boat, especially with this week. I'm just trying to see where you can go to. What you're basically saying is I should just delete the team. That's what you've just said. This is the shorter version of what you've just said is delete your account, right?
Yeah. Well, no Salah, mate.
We're all going to be faced with issues, right? We're all going to have problems, or there's, and that's why for me, I've got a decent enough bench where I've got cover, and I've got a plan still with those 5 free transfers. I'm rolling this week. I'll have 4 next week. That's only 1 more week then until I've got 5 in game week 7. Haaland then comes in. I'm not going to go 4 game weeks with their fixtures that they've got. He's my captain pretty much for those 4 game weeks. That's that sorted. Salah, I don't think you need both, personally. Don't think you need both. I think it's too much money, far too much money. The people who've done well at the beginning of the season will say different because obviously they've got the hauls that they did in the first 3 game weeks and so on. So they've done really well. But at the same time, you're going to have that captain dilemma if you've got both. I don't want that. I just want someone I know I can pick. Palmer's not gone great, so that kind of, is from what I've just said, doesn't back that up. But there was a plan there. I did say before, I shouldn't have took Rare out, shouldn't have took Haaland out, and I shouldn't have took Smith Rowe out, but I did it. So yeah, it's tough, and at the moment, I think Watkins is fine. I think it's just a knock from what I've heard. I think he'll be fine for this week. So there are lots of problems that are going to arise, but you have to just, swings and roundabouts in this game. We all know that there's good and bad, and sometimes you have to just deal with the bad. There's not much you can do.
Good stuff, mate.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Leaning slightly more towards brave now.
Definitely.
I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed. If you're going into next game, you're going to end up, what did you say, game week 7 with 5 free transfers? Yeah. That's brilliant, man. That's really good. Yeah. I've got 1 free transfer and I'm like, I'm going to just use it. I thought I would be able to save maybe 3. I've not even been able to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really tough. It is, because it's either, like you're saying, Mikey, if you've got 2-3 problems, now it's actually easier to resolve them. Whereas before it was, I can roll and have 2. I might have to burn 1 here. I've not got actually a move to make. Whereas now it feels like, can I make a move? And then I can make the most of some points maybe that game week. This game week, though, for me, fixtures-wise, I don't think there's anything there to kind of, I can take advantage here. But yeah, using those transfers, it's tough. Go on, Chaza. I can see you're ready.
I am ready. Before I get to the comments and saying hello to everyone, because we do appreciate it, and the audience always play an integral role for every episode, let's just go to my team, and let's face it, it's just another score in the 40s. 42 points. Yes, Meera's already mentioned Henderson, woeful. Robinson, abysmal. Vardio, lackluster. Alexander-Arnold, just straight up poor. Now, Rodgers, so there's XA, XG. XC is expected celebrations. His expected celebrations right now are through the roof. But he just doesn't have returns. I'm talking about Morgan Rodgers from Aston Villa. Eze, now, I've got an issue. The penalties debate, mate, stop laughing, because I need to talk about.
Mate, no, I love it. I love it.
And Philippe Mateta, who's just stolen the ball off him, means Eze's blanking. Jota decided to run. Salah decided to run away from fantasy returns. Gibbs White, he's like a polar bear in South America at the moment. Don't know what he's doing there, but we'll keep him for another couple of weeks for vibes purposes. Muniz has just lost the plot and his spot, and Haaland just said, "Look, I'm going to carry it, and my shoulders are sore." And Pedro didn't turn up. Mikalenko decided to concede 3 goals after going 2 up. And Barco's...
All right, don't go on about it. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Imagine a game week without, say, in my position, you didn't have Haaland. And I've got 41 points. How many did you get, Chaza?
42. Sucked in. Sorry.
No, you got 42, right? But I didn't have Haaland and I got 1 point less. That's what I mean. Like Haaland was basically people's saving grace last week because it would have been unbelievably crap. So, it's not going to last forever though, is it, right? Haaland's not going to keep doing that. So you need to start getting your thinking.
I can't disagree more. I think, I said it last week on the pod. I think we're witnessing something special. We are witnessing something really, really special in Erling Haaland. A generational talent. And I am on board that train, mate.
We blanked midweek, Rev.
Yeah, great, cool. He can save it all up. Like at the minute, it's the old catchphrase, isn't it? Lightning doesn't strike twice. And at the minute, the only thing that's an anomaly is him not scoring.
Yeah.
Arsenal have kept last two cleans against Spurs and Atalanta. And they're the best defensive team from last season. Even Chaza will tell you that.
Yeah, so this is what's making me want to play Gabriel for Game Week 6. I know we're going to be chatting about our team soon, but yeah, I'm like, I was going to bench him.
Oh, you mean this week? Sorry. Game Week 5?
Yeah. We're going, we're going into Game Week 5, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So Game Week 5, yeah, I'm thinking about maybe playing Gabriel now because, yeah, like Arsenal's defense is so good.
I'm the same with Saliba, so I've got Saliba at the moment, unfortunately, because obviously he didn't get the 12-point haul. But, I'm thinking just go Saliba this week. I mean, Rev's going to sit there. He's waiting patiently for Haaland to just wheel away after scoring another 2 goals or whatever he wants to do. But
I think he will.
Yeah. I mean, Newcastle...
Oh, he's got it in him.
Newcastle's more realistic because Newcastle haven't been great this season. We've got away with it, but...
We've seen some astonishing form from Erling Haaland over the past couple of seasons. And yet again, he's stepped it up. Again, he raises his game all the time, and he's going to do it again, in my opinion. Hide behind the couch if you don't have him.
I don't see myself taking him out at the moment, unless some of the other... I guess, I know we're going to be chatting about some of the, the next level or the premiums that, like your Foden, Saka, Palmer, around that sort of 9 to 10 mil sort of mark.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see myself losing Haaland at the moment unless we see a Foden or a KDB. I mean, KDB's injured at the moment, but unless a couple of those are going to rise up and get some consecutive, returns and points and goals, just returns in general, I just don't see myself losing him at the moment.
I think that's why primarily I know it was a mistake just because of him getting... I mean, since I've got rid of him, we've had Game Week. So I wildcarded Game Week 3. Game Week 3, is it just the 2 goals I've missed then? Game Week 2, I had him. In Game Week 3, who did...
No, he got the Hattie, right? Like he got his...
Hat-trick of assists.
3 was West Ham, right? So Game Week 4 was the last one where he got 2. So
2.
I wildcarded in Game Week 3 and didn't have him, and he got that hat-trick. Then obviously I didn't have him for the 2 goals against Brentford. It is funny though, because there's people that have got Haaland in some of my mini leagues, and they've captained him the whole 4 game weeks, and I'm still above them. So it's weird. It is weird. It just goes to show that basically you definitely need to pick the right players if you're not going to have him. It's not always going to happen like that. But obviously, Game Week 2 was a moment where people thought, oh, look, you can't have Haaland. Like, you can go without Haaland, you can go without Salah, and you can still, do as well. That's like a one-off. That doesn't happen all the time. And for you to get that many players who return like a Son or a Palmer or whatever, it's just not going to fly all the time. It's impossible. Go on, Chaz.
That's fair. All good. And more importantly, let's just briefly say hello to everyone. Miriam is always active on a weekly basis.
Yes, Miriam.
Good afternoon to you.
Hello.
Gary, one of our favourites. Hello to you. Colin Bugler, Fulham season ticket holder, and also our number 1 fan. Let's face it, we also have what looks to be last week's guest in Vino's also popped by. I mean, we're big influencers. That's all good.
I would use that term very loosely.
Cheers, Ed. I'm just hovering over the, what is it, ban user and delete the comments button after what he's put on the end. No, I'm only joking.
That's Reidy.
Yeah.
That is a violation.
Yeah. Great to have Ed watching. He was a great guest for us last week.
Thank you to everyone who is tuning in. But now it's time for our favourite F word, and it's not Friday. It is actually the fixtures for Gameweek 5. Jeez, I nearly forgot what Gameweek. So we're going to start with you, Reidy, then Meera, then Rev, then myself. One key fixture that stands out.
Oof, one key fixture.
And you can agree on the same one if you wish.
I'm not going to go for the obvious because I think from an FPL point of view, it's an absolute minefield of who to play. If you've got Haaland, you're just going to play him. That's not a question. But for me, I'd probably say the nicest for our teams is probably Liverpool-Bournemouth. Now, obviously, that didn't happen last week when we all thought it was going to be great because Forest just turned up, had a game plan and executed it really well. Albeit we were really poor and didn't finish any chances. But for me, that's the fixture that stands out. I think that after midweek in Milan, good performance, players sort of getting minutes and the likes of Gakpo coming on and things like that. I think they'll definitely want to put that straight from last week. So I'm expecting a much better performance, and I think that should be a comfortable win. So I'm hoping for lots of points. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, that's the one for me. I'll be at the game as well, so whether that's a jinx or not, we'll see. But I'm hoping to see some entertaining football and goals.
Meera.
I was going to pick the same one just because I'm a Liverpool fan, and yeah, I was also thinking about the 9-0 score from I can't remember, was it last season, the season before, wasn't it? Yeah. And Salah not getting a single return in that sort of 9-0. But yeah, aside from the obvious one, I think, but I might speak to a little bit to the obvious one just because I'm eyeing up the players from City and Arsenal at the moment, not having that many. So I've only got Haaland and I've only got Gabriel at the moment from both. And I'm really curious to see how they're going to line up, against each other, given that they've each got a couple of players, key players that are out. So Odegaard's out, of course, and you've got KDB out as well. But that's going to be the toughest fixture for both of them, aside from playing us, of course. But I'm not sure which other players I'd be thinking about. So I think, it'd be really interesting to see how they go defensively without the likes of Odegaard. Like he's such such an influence in that side for Arsenal. And we saw that, how they, I don't know if I should say struggled in their UCL match, but it seemed like they struggled in that, 0-0. But even with City, I have no idea which defender, if I was to go for a defender, I'm not sure where to go. Mid, do you go for a Foden? Do you not? Yeah, so I'm going to be looking at that one a little bit closer just because I'm invested in, bringing in a couple of those players going into potentially Wildcard 6.
Yeah, very cool. Very good. Very good points. I think I'll just throw in a little bit of a curveball as to something I'm going to really keep an eye on. And I do have plans to watch the full 90 of the game afterwards with a particular eye on Spurs and Brentford. I think going forward, Spurs and Brentford have a lot of really good fixtures. There are some really good mid-priced assets from both of those teams. I'm going to keep an eye on how Brentford look without Wissa. That's going to be a thing. And who do they replace him with? And actually, does Mbeumo move further up front? I do have Mbeumo. So maybe he becomes a better asset, awkwardly, without Wissa, because he's going to have to lead that line. And then the second players that I also want to look at is Pedro Porro moving forward. Up until game week 19, I think. Is it 19 with Spurs? Their fixtures are, as Reidy would say, creamy. They've got some really good fixtures all the way up until game week 19. And I also, and I know I talk about him every week, but he is Spurs number 9. and he is 7.5 million. It's Dominic Solanke. If he shows me something this week, it could change my transfer plans moving forward, because we know that Spurs are a great attacking side, and we know that he has taken a little while to settle in. But if he does settle in really well, and he's got the likes of Son playing further out wide, James Maddison backing him up, we know that he's an absolute creative force in the Premier League. We could see a really good 7.5 mil asset on our hands with great fixtures and also little to no competition for his space. And apart from the last couple of weeks, an absolutely squeaky clean injury record as well. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
Just a follow-up to that question, guys. For you, Mikey, is the reason that you're kind of keeping an eye on that game or watching some of the players from there is that you've not seen enough from them, and you know, that's how I look at it. The Spurs a little bit, not the best, and I know Solanke's been injured, so obviously maybe one game back he's a bit rusty, but he's still in and amongst chances as such. And it was Arsenal, so I guess it's a harder game.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But, if you don't see enough, are you giving it this one game? What's the, how are you measuring this, going forward?
Yeah, so the way I'm measuring it is just purely on is he going to get some attack and returns now? Is he going to score a goal? Because at the moment, we've seen time and time again that a striker goes to a new club, Chaza, and they need to get the monkey off the back, and once that happens, we could see the goals flying in. But at the moment, there's something going on. Ange has said the word mate too many times in a press conference, oh mate, and there's only so far that'll get you. He needs to, he does need to start producing the results now, doesn't he?
Mate.
Oh, Ange ball. Yeah, there he is. Yes.
That's what have you just done there? You committed a big crime. Arsenal fan with the Spurs, book in his bedroom. Chaza, take yourself outside and face the wall, mate.
That's fair.
And he's wearing an Ipswich top.
Wearing an Ipswich top as well.
Hey, Mikey.
Yeah,
definitely an Aussie.
It's true.
No,
I think just to come back to the question, I think as an FPL manager, we've seen time and time again, I've tended to go far too early on FPL assets, and then I bring them in and they don't do it for a couple of weeks, and then they start doing it. I kind of jump the gun a little bit, and that's a good thing because I've got them before everyone else does. What that means is they just blank a couple of weeks until then. So I've told myself, this season I'm going to jump onto stuff rather than just try and get too far ahead. I'm a classic overthinker. Try and be too clever. Try and be too smart. Spurs are a good side. We know that they are, but I've not seen enough from them from an FPL perspective so far to fill my team with the likes of Porro and Solanke. But if they do well this week, then they've got some great fixtures going forward, and they're an option.
I have to agree with you. I've got an Isak and a Pedro problem. And I think Pedro might be okay, is what I'm sensing at the moment. But Isak, I'm not feeling too good about. It's like, is it his eye? Is it his toe? Like, it could be something else tomorrow. Yeah. Who knows, right? I know. Like, head shot. But I'm not feeling good about keeping him at the moment. Mate.
Sorry, I'm going to put you off.
That's okay. No, carry on. Yeah, mate. No.
He's just a pirate, isn't he? Basically, he's gonna have a wooden leg and an eye patch.
Doing the Macarena as well.
But I've been eyeing up. So I need to commit. To. Am I going to Wildcard 6? If I am going to Wildcard 6, then I can just dead end. And despite sort of dead end feeling like a non-event thing now, because you can roll your transfers
the 5
over, right?
transfers,
so,
yeah,
exactly. So it doesn't really make sense to dead end, kind of thing. But Yeah, I'm thinking about making a transfer, and in that transfer, Solanke's one of the players that I'm thinking about. And like you said, I feel like I want to jump on players a little bit earlier than later, like eyeing them up too long. Pedro was kind of like that a little bit, like he got a few returns, and so yeah, I think that was just unfortunate. But I feel like Solanke's a really good pick. He's already proven, from last season. He wasn't far off, like being the top scorer as well. So yeah, I've got a good feeling about him. I reckon that he'll start to sort of come through. I think he played 90 minutes in the last game as well, so I like that. I like the pick.
Yeah, I think at the moment his data doesn't look great. He's obviously it's a very small sample size with the Spurs team, but he does have a total expected goals of 0.54, which is about 0.27 expected goals per 90. So that's one goal every 4 games at the moment. But at the same time, he has played the best defense in the league as well. So we have to factor that in, which is why I do think it's a bit of a weird one. Also, the most of that XG came from one big chance, which he missed. So it's bit of an awkward one. He does need to find his form for me.
Fair points.
Yeah. Love it. Well,
look, what about you, Chaz? Any fixtures for you that you kind of...
I was just going to make sure. I do actually have a fixture. No, plot twist, I don't. It's the exact same as Revs. I think that's a huge game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's all. But look, if there's two sides that are probably on the verge of being on the beach right now, it's Fulham and Newcastle. I think that's a massive game because there's a lot of people who have transferred out Newcastle assets as of recent times. No one likes Rodrigo Muniz. Probably Quentin does from last season.
Yeah, speaking of which, Quentin, you've got some answering to do, my friend. You sold Muniz to all of us, and we have been robbed. We've been robbed, and it's all your fault.
I jumped on the Muniz train last year. Yeah, I jumped on that train because of Q. It was all him last season, and I'm glad I did. I did. Yeah, got some good returns.
It's not happened this season for him though. I don't know what's going on for the lads.
I think he's more on a rowboat this season with just one row. Like rower, it's like that's it. The other one's lost. He just goes round in circles. Muniz, he's just like that.
What about Emile Smith?
Row? Yeah. Oh god.
That's a different one. I like that, Rev.
Yeah. Muniz,
not just a pretty face, mate.
Yeah. The return of Raul is definitely a thing now. Instead,
he's a factor now,
and he's so cheap.
Whether people will go there, that I don't know though, but I don't think people are going to move Haaland anytime soon if you've got him. And
what about a Vardy party whilst Everton are missing Branthwaite?
Yeah, it's a bit strange how Vardy is 37, still managing to play Premier League football, and there's players there that get injured every 2 weeks and they're like in their 20s, in their prime and things.
Mate, it's all that Port and Red Bull and ciggies he's having before a game. It's just
he's like the old school stuff, like the old players.
He's on it, isn't he?
Yeah. But fair play to him. Vardy, interesting topic though. Obviously playing against your boys, Rev. He's in form, you'd probably say, and he's from what Steve Cooper said, he's hungrier than ever. At the ripe old age of 37, so
and that's the thing. It's like I don't necessarily believe in Jamie Vardy, but if you're in a position like Meera is, and you're looking to dead end into a wild card, why not just take a punt on Jamie Vardy early in the season? His legs will catch up with him at some point, obviously, being 37. But at the same time, it's dead early in the season. He's going to be he'll never be fresher than he is right now.
True.
As in terms of the season, and he's also been looking good as well. He's got some good form behind him, scoring some good goals. He's got some great fixtures, and so if you are looking to dead end into game week 6, get on that party. Yeah. Get on that Vardy party.
Well, I think that's where Meera was when she was making the point about there's not really a a dead end as such anymore.
Yeah.
We have more transfers now, potentially, and it's almost like you're finding it more difficult to not use those transfers. So while you're thinking, is there an opportunity, you're going, okay, well, maybe I'll take that opportunity because I can.
Yeah, I'm also thinking, do I need to wildcard in 6? Because my team is not that bad either. And I'm not saying that you should only wildcard if your team is that bad, right? Like a lot of people have been playing their wildcard early strategically because that was their plan all along, or it's gone terribly wrong. I'm just trying to give benefit of the doubt and some credit there. But yeah, I could avoid it as well. But I feel like if I make a transfer now, I don't want to. I want to see how the matches go on the weekend before making a decision about wildcarding in 6. So I'm sort of on the fence on it at the moment. So I feel like my transfer needs to enable me to make a decision about not playing the wildcard as well. So Solanke with a couple of good fixtures lets me do that. Vardy does as well, which is nice, and probably saves me a bit of money there as well to upgrade my mid for a Saka, for instance. It does mean that I might be, getting rid of Salah. I'm not sure. There's a couple of things there that I'm thinking about, but I don't want to be cornered into playing the wild card because I'm making a knee jerk, just do a punt pick for this week as well. So I kind of want that pick to be good, but also gives me the option to play the wild card or not play the wild card.
Yeah,
that's fair play.
Well explained, well summarised there, Meera.
Yeah, and just to give everyone listening along a little bit of more Vardy propaganda, we all know that I do love a stat. So Everton are in the bottom 3 so far this season for expected goals conceded. So that means they concede a lot of chances. And the key stat I'm going to highlight for Jamie Vardy is that his goal conversion rate is 67%. 67%, that's massive. So not only are Leicester going to get a lot of chances, Vardy is an absolute, is going to possibly deliver an absolute clinic on finishing as well. And I say that as an Everton fan, unfortunately.
Terrific. That's an exceptional stat. Love that, Rev. It's what you bring to the table. It's your strength. You just keep at it. You're smashing it. Give it 110%. Before we get to all of our all-important discussion points, we're going to have a brief visit into our public lead because there is someone that's already leading. Bosh, that's right. By 17 points, it being Seamus Gray with a current total of 334. Great start from you, Seamus. See what the margin is come this time next week. Now, it's one of our favourite parts, talking points. I know Meera's got a handful that she'd like to come across. So, Meera, take it away. You wanted to first talk about City players worth considering outside of Erling Haaland.
Yeah, I guess I wanted some advice from you guys and our listeners, of course, and everyone that's in the chat, whether you're listening afterwards or in the chat at the moment. City players, like at the moment, I've only got Haaland in the team. I didn't jump on Lewis. Now I could have jumped on Lewis when I had Quansah. I took 2 price drops on Quansah, absolute shamble, but I got rid of him before the 3rd price drop. Could have gone Lewis. Probably would have held on to Lewis. He's had a couple of price increases as well. Is Lewis someone that we should be considering in defense maybe? And I noticed you guys, a couple of you had Vardiol as well. He's not really been taking off like he did last season. His positioning's not been the same as well. In the mid, no idea. I mean, I was eyeing up KDB, and then KDB's now sort of injured. Foden's back on. Is he going to get the minutes? Is he starting? Will he play 90? Will he play even 70? Don't know. At the moment, possibly, right? His price point's decent. He's dropped in price a couple of times as well. So I think he's like 9.3, which is a little bit cheaper than KDB. Don't mind that. Thinking about him, City have a phenomenal fixture run coming up. Feels nuts not to have at least 2. Haaland is not a differential. Not going to get many points, not going to get many gains. I'm sort of, want to maintain my rank as much as possible, at least sort of be steady, for a little while. Like, I don't like the fact that I've had I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't like the fact that I've had a good start to the season, because now I'm, not necessarily overthinking my, transfers or anything like that. At least I'd like to think I'm not. But it's got me feeling like I have to try and make some good decisions as well, at least with the picks, to make some gains. Because if I look at the selected percentage, or the EO, I don't think I have many players that are under 10% at the moment, or even 15%. So I'm thinking about those Vardy picks, for example, or Solanke. Even, like, a lot of managers went Solanke early, got rid of him, because he was injured and wasn't playing. So, is it a good time to bring in one of those players? So yes, I'm thinking about it from that point of view. But City just feels madness not to have at least 2 attacking options going into that fixture run.
And I think it's very difficult from where you're coming from. You want to maintain that good rank, and if anything, you want to obviously climb higher. But that one wrong move can literally make you drop and tank, by a lot. I did it from my wildcard. I was 154k game week 2. I'm now, was it 1.7 mil or something like that? So it can happen, but in FPL, I suppose the best way outside of FPL is think smarter, not harder. Now, that in an FPL term is not, you don't automatically kind of like think smarter. You overthink to try and be smarter. And that's always, that can sometimes be our downfall, right? So you do want to try and catch these players, but you're just in the moment, like looking at that pool of players, going, who?
Yeah.
How do I narrow this down? How do I go for that player that no one else is maybe going to get, and under that percentage that you said? So I guess that's where Rev maybe comes in, right? Come on, you must have
data. Yeah, of course I do.
You must have something.
Of course, I've got data on Man City.
Give me some data. Give me some data. I've been avoiding data. Funny enough, like I've been actively not looking at too much data this season. I did a lot more last season, but this season I've been like on the attacking sort of side of style of playing.
So let's play a game then, right? Just purely based on eye test / vibes alone, who would be your second Man City attacker then, Reidy? Who would you go for?
For me, I think at the moment.
Wrong. Oh, sorry. No, I'm just. I'm just waiting to get it.
Savino. I was going to say.
Savino.
He's the guy. But Foden's back now, so.
Yeah. So interestingly, Savino is currently overperforming on his data, and he's also doing the classic thing that I hate. What do I hate from an attacker more than anything in the world, Reidy?
What do you hate?
What do I hate from them?
I don't know.
When they're shagging the touchline.
Oh, God.
Yeah, shagging the touchline. They're just far too wide. He currently only has 1 assist, and that's from 0.47 expected assists from that man. Chaza just came in to just shake his head at my shagging the touchline data. He obviously looks really good. He looks quite exciting, but he does a little bit down the wing and then passes it backwards. It's classic Jack Grealish syndrome as well.
It's not to interrupt your flow. It's classic Pep Guardiola syndrome, because
it is.
The exact same to Doku too. Doku, that explosive winger, great for Belgium, taking people on, inside. But Pep just goes, "We're in a system. You pass inside or you go backwards." But carry on.
Meera, what about you then? Who would be your second Man City asset?
So it would have been KDB. I was drafting him in like a game week, two game weeks ago, when I was thinking about, is wildcard 6 a good time to wildcard or not? But KDB was up there for me. I think like at the price point that he's at, given that Foden wasn't playing as well, he would have been the pick that I would have gone for. Yeah. Yeah.
The data says you are correct to think about KDB. Some people think that it might be better to go with Bernardo Silva. He has 2 assists so far, but that's only from 0.77 expected assists. Obviously, his minutes are better. The only issue with KDB right now is that he is yellow flagged on fantasy. I was having a little bit of a knock, so he could be definitely one to watch. But also, KDB has 2.16 expected assists at the moment and only has the 1 assist to show for it. So he is currently underperforming his data. But that's the thing with KDB, is that you don't just get assist threat from him because he plays incredibly centrally. And he has actually been playing a little bit out more to the left this season, which has been quite interesting. But he does get in and around the box as well. But he does have he does have some good data to back it up, just in terms of his expected goals. So he's got 1.22 expected goals and he's scored 1. So he's ticking over quite nicely. Also, in terms of minutes, we could say that Bernardo Silva is possibly a bit more of an option. Again, he suffers from the same issue that Savinho does in terms of his special relationship with the touchline. But at the same time, in terms of minutes as well, no one's played more minutes this season in the Premier League than Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
So
I would like to think he's not injured and I can still bring him in, whether I wildcard in 6 or a bit later. But yeah. What about on the defense side? Like from a data point of view, like who if we were to go for one, like I know Reidy, did you have Vardiol in your side, or was it Chaz? I can't remember, or was it all three of you?
I had Rico Lewis and suffered the same fate. So
So I've got Guardiola. I didn't start with him either, and I brought him in on wildcard. Obviously, that's not gone down too well. But at the same time, I'm going to really struggle come game week 7 in terms of, do I take him out? I've got 5 frees. I could easily take him out. I'm going to get Haaland, and I just think, okay, that I'm quite happy doing that. But the fixtures then are really good. So if I go and take him out, do I want to potentially sacrifice 4 clean sheets? Not saying that City will definitely get that, but that's what you would expect, City being City and how good those fixtures are. And also then, another dilemma I have, which most people do have with City players, is what team is he going to put out? Pep's very smoke and mirrors on his press conferences. Champions League's back. It's back at the start of October now after this last round of fixtures. So I do have like a little bit of a conundrum in that respect. I just think, though, is it a move I need to worry about? I think he's still going to get enough starts and enough minutes. But at the same time, that's just because of my position that I'm in. I would probably not say, I'll go for him. I think he's genuinely a pick because I don't know yet at this stage. So it does leave you in a little bit of limbo on what City defender to go for. That does kind of fill you with a lot of, positivity, I guess. Rico Lewis is the one that, has looked great from what we saw at the start of the season. However, he's taken off at half-time last week. Rodri's back. Walker's back. How Rico do you get? And it's a similar thing with the Guardiola, great fixtures, but Champions League, etc. Where do you land with that?
Yeah, I'm tempted to just not go there with the defense at the moment.
I think that's agreed. It at the minute. Yeah,
absolutely agreed.
Which isn't nice though, is it? Because you're like, oh damn.
No, exactly. yeah, and then they're leaky, right? That's the thing.
It's so true. Like I'm sick of going for we finally got a nailed Man City defender. They win 5-1 every game.
If anything, one thing I would say is, given that I know their tough fixtures are coming up in 9 onwards. Well, that 3 block Arsenal's. Obviously 6 to 8 is great, but I still do believe that Arsenal probably have the best defence based on last season, but based on what I've seen this year. The Brighton one was, they got a red card in that game and, they conceded, but they still nearly managed to keep a clean sheet. And I think that double Arsenal defence, we'll find that there's a lot of people heading towards that way at some point. Whether that be Raya and a centre-back or both centre-backs, I don't.
Wow, love it. It was so extensive, so intriguing indeed. So many questions, especially with Pep's team lineup. Well, let's face it, that's been the case for the last 7 seasons. Now, Reidy, I did just get a memo from you that you may have to dip out for a Teams meeting very shortly. So because of that, we will get to your discussion points, Rev and Meera, because we do have a lot to get through. Do you want to go straight into your Gameweek 5 team? Yeah. Cool. Sounds good. Before he dipped out. Rev. Wait, what happened there? He just left.
I don't think he got what you said.
Yeah.
Or he had to go right now.
What you should say, Chaza, is before you go, do you want to share your team? Instead, you're like, look, we just understand that, Reidy's got to go. He's got a Teams meeting. So as you were saying that, like, Reidy was like, oh, that's just full permission for me to
perfect.
give the little salute and, like,
I feel really sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I bother with this. Get back to the discussion point.
Anyway, Chaza, on that note, I just want to say
he's left.
I feel like I should go as well.
No.
See you, mate.
Don't do that. My God, I've worded that. Oh, jeez. I don't know.
Oh dear.
I don't know.
So funny. How do you cope? How do you cope with these guys? Honestly.
I don't really know. Yeah, well, how do I? Rev, do you want to talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah, I do.
I do. Recover from this. Carry on. Yeah. So him. Is he with illness this weekend?
Let me ask him. No, to be honest, he's probably having too many chippies with Sean Dyche. I've got no idea about his current availability. What I do know is we played 4, he started 4, he's getting about 82 minutes a game. His expected goals are 1.21, so he is slightly overperforming his data. But we also know that he's on penalties as well, so that'll come around at some point for the lad. He's not taking a lot of shots per game though, but the quality of the chances have been good for him as well. He's got about half the goal conversion rate of Jamie Vardy at 33%. He does have an assist though. He is a bit of a pivot at the top for Everton. We do tend to target him up at the top of the pitch, and he does bring in other players into the game when we're attacking. The issue is that, Everton, we're just such a poor side right now in terms of conceding goals, but from an FPL perspective, like, we don't care. Like, we literally don't care. Everton can concede 6 goals a game, and it doesn't affect Calvert-Lewin one iota as an FPL asset.
Yeah.
So, good fixtures going forward. He's on penalties. He's nailed. And the only issue, again, is just like he's got a little bit of an illness vibe this week. And there are players that Everton can play. We've got Beto. We also have Broja on loan from Chelsea this season. That's a bit of a weird one. But at the same time, I wouldn't be too concerned about Broja because he obviously couldn't even get into the... was it the Leeds team? Or who am I thinking of?
Or Southampton?
Southampton. Yeah. He couldn't kick out anyone from there, even though he had a good season a couple of seasons ago in terms of an FPL perspective. He's now at Everton, so something's gone wrong, right?
Fulham, I think it was. Yeah.
Fulham. Yeah. He's now at Everton, which means something's gone wrong in his life. Every time I go to Goodison Park, I feel like something's gone wrong in my life. So yeah, he's going to be absolutely no different.
So I'm seeing McNeil turn up in a lot of teams as well.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that pick?
So I've got a page up on Dwight McNeil. I've got some little data. The thing is, he's absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
For Everton. Like, he's not a typical attacker like a Smith Rowe. The thing is, he's scored a banger of a free kick, right? And everyone's just gone, he scored a pretty epic free kick. And don't get me wrong, it was tasty, but his expected goals this season from 4 starts, he plays 90 minutes a game, is 0.15. 0.15 goals per 90. It's just not good enough. He takes 1 shot per game. His goal conversion, even then, is 25%. So not only does he, get very little chances, he buries about 1 in 4 of them. And yeah, he's scored a couple of good goals. Where I would argue for him is that his creativity is actually good. He does know how to cross a ball. He does know how to play a pass. And so far, he's got 2 assists from 2.42 expected assists so far. But the thing is, with Dwight McNeil, is your money going to be spent a little bit nicer somewhere else? I think for me, if I was going to take a punt on someone that obviously isn't Rodgers, let's just address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Morgan Rodgers from Aston Villa. I would talk about Amad Diallo potentially. I think.
What about Onana from Villa?
Well, you know what? I actually haven't looked at Onana in terms of his stats, but yeah, there's not a lot to say about Amad Diallo anyway, from a data perspective. Is even though he's got 1 goal, it's from 0.38 expected goals in a total of 4 games. Let me have a look. I'll do a search right now for Onana. Onana. What's his name?
Rev, I wanted to compliment in terms of your talking point, because DCL is a big driving discussion factor, especially on the budget forward. So 14 of the top 15 most popular transfer combinations involve forwards this week. What is going on exactly? Does it seem to be a hokey-cokey trend with us managers being too reactive on who's jumping hot and then who's not all of a sudden? Or is there something else that maybe some managers we're missing about the budget forwards this season?
I think for myself, I've been constantly out of the frying pan and into the fire with my teams. I'll just go to my points, and the issue started in game week 1 when Solanke got injured, and then I bought in Muniz, and who didn't happen, and then I bought in Wisa, and so no wonder there's a lot of movement in the transfer market for forwards, because popular picks with good fixtures just keep getting injured. So
yeah, there's not many options really. I mean, I was eyeing up Wissa, and I probably would have gone I probably would have gone Wissa instead of Pedro. It was what I was thinking, but obviously Wissa was injured before then. But there really isn't around that sort of 6 million mark, right? Even then, you've got there's a range there now of it's got to be 5.5 and above, and it's sort of in that 5.5 and 6.2 ish now, where with some of the players just increasing, and so everyone's eyeing up Welbeck in case Pedro is out, or it's either Pedro or Welbeck, right, from Brighton. And even then, given like they've got Forest coming up next, which is a decent home fixture for Brighton, fine.
But after that.
After that, exactly, it's
not good.
Chelsea, Tottenham, the next two. But I think it's DCL really, and Vardy. I mean, even Vardy, they've got the Arsenal fixture in between. Like, they've got Arsenal in game week 6. But after that, they've got 3 good fixtures coming up. So yeah, we're really limited. I mean, I was even eyeing up, Raul Jimenez, just because 5.2 or something. If he's going to sit on the bench for majority of the time, if I'm going to bench him, but he's going to get some minutes and could get some goals as well, especially with Meera not really being on form at the moment, then I don't mind that as well. If I was wildcarding and I don't really like, it's your 8th attacker type of player, but that's 5.2. After that, you've got Pedro 5.7, you've got Welbeck 5.7. So there isn't that many options really.
There's a real argument to say to just go like 3-5-2 at the moment in our FPL teams and just like put on like I've seen people putting that 4.5 mil Forest attacker in their team and just putting him third on the bench and just being like, is he? Well, whatever. Like it doesn't make a difference to our FPL teams. Like, he just. It's just there to, be 4.5 mil and let the money go into the rest of our teams. Like, I think the ideal situation that I kind of envisage happening from game week 6 and beyond is I think we will either shift into a 3-5-2 kind of meta or template, as we say in FPL, where we have Erling Haaland and we have 1 or 2 of Isak, Solanke, Watkins, and Havertz, and then we spread the funds throughout the rest of our teams, because all of those attackers, seem to be viable, especially the likes of Solanke and Havertz. There's an argument to say we should probably go Saka and double Arsenal defence at that point anyway, though, which makes me lean more towards the idea of a 3-5-2 and just having that position just completely wiped out and having either Haaland with Solanke or Watkins.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think from a forwards point of view, like at the moment, the conundrum I've got is Pedro and the Isak. We touched on that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't go Isak to Watkins. I just don't have enough money to do that, which is a real shame because I'm missing it by about 0.3. It's probably all the price drops I've had. Who knows? So not ideal, but I don't have that many options. So it's either Havertz, which might not be the best time to bring him in, given they're playing City, but might be okay if I choose not to wildcard. In game week 6, it means that I then keep Havertz for the good fixture run that Arsenal have, and then double up in the defense and just skip Saka entirely, or I go for a Vardy because I was thinking about him on my wildcard anyway, or I take a punt. Or just, not really a punt, but I just take my chances with Solanke, as well. But otherwise, there's not that many options. I mean, DCL, of course, we just spoke about as well. Yeah, it's limited.
Very limited. Yeah, and I think what we need to do is keep our ears to the ground, particularly about news about Solanke and... Not Solanke, sorry, about DCL and who is it? Watkins.
I've got some news
Watkins
to compliment.
Okay, yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's actually on the other side of a pitch. Some of you may be aware, who knows, but Alisson's out for a weekend due to a muscle problem.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good for me with double Liverpool defence.
Oh no.
Big yikes! Big yikes!
Such a random like that. That never happens. And
it's happened. And it's happened twice this season so far. We had some Allison injury rumours.
Yeah. I was chatting to FPL Crisis, and he was saying that, did he get injured going to the barbers or something after, or did he get injured shaving or something like that? Because he's clean shaven. Don't like it one bit. But I was just looking at the chat, and Quinton mentioned Xerxes isn't a bad 2-week punt.
Yeah. Xerxes. That's some Man United propaganda, right?
Yeah, totally.
How am I getting a mention? No, that's a lot to figure out.
Xerxes, is he really?
I don't know.
So
I've got.
He started 2 games. He's averaging about 63 minutes per game in total. He is underperforming his data. His expected goals are 2.09, and when you think that like minutes per game 63, you know what? I take it back, Quentin. I might even forgive you for the Muniz propaganda earlier this season.
He knows how to pick him.
No, he does. He does. His expected goals is 2.09 expected goals over the course of the 4 games that he's had, and when you consider that that's across 63 minutes per game, that's actually quite huge. That's some really good underlying data in terms of his expected goals per 90, which he's currently underperforming. His heat map is very central as well, which is exactly where we like our attackers to be. So, you know what? I don't hate it. I really, really don't hate that. Is he a forward? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is he a midfielder?
How much is he?
You know what? 7 mil? Oh, get lost. No, you can't. Nah. If he was like 5 mil, I might even...
That's a lot higher than what I thought.
Yeah, it is. But like the thing is, for someone whose minutes are questionable, I can't be spending 7 mil on someone who might not start, right? Just it's one thing trying to get someone in like who might not start out of injury, but when it's not starting out of sheer virtue, then yeah, sorry. Like his underlying data is great, but maybe he is like a super sub at the moment, and he needs to cement himself a lot better in that team.
Yeah,
because Man United, right? They like have you seen their fixture run from game week 8 onwards?
Yeah,
that is very tempting.
It is. I think that's where I'm like, I'm going to need to get over my can't have Man United player bias that I have as a Liverpool supporter.
Yeah. I think it's definitely either Garnacho or Rashford time for me.
Yeah.
At that point,
I can't see myself going Bruno at all.
No, I've been hurt before. Yeah, he's not got his finishing boots on this season. Poor Bruno.
Oh,
yeah,
Bruno. Seen a better Bruno, and that was Bruno Mars. Speaking about better things to do, and that is, let's carry on with the agenda. Meera, you wanted to talk about midfield picks between the 9 to 10 million bracket.
Yeah. So we touched on the City picks. And of course, we've got KDB, who is potentially injured, might be okay by the time we wildcard. Who knows, right? Like he might just make an appearance over the weekend. If he does, amazing. I would have thought that Pep probably would have played him ahead of Foden, I would imagine, if he was fit. So yeah, interesting. But Foden, of course, is the other option. So as we sort of touched on the City picks there, but then you've got Saka. So with Arsenal's amazing fixture run coming up, at least those three game weeks between 6 and 8 at the very least, with the 2 home fixtures against like Leicester, Southampton, and then you got Bournemouth away. They're a bit too tasty to not have an attacker. So is Saka the player to get for that run of fixtures, or can we avoid him? The other question is, for the next 3, you've got Palmer. Now, Palmer's not playing where he was, or not in terms of positioning, obviously under new manager, not really positioned similarly to what he was last season. Obviously had a phenomenal season. Not sure, but he is definitely on my mind from that. And he's what, 10.5, or is he in that sort of mark still? So yeah, still quite pricey, awkward pricing as well. For Palmer, it feels like. I mean, I don't mind it, given the season that he had last season. So you've got KDB, Foden, especially for City's fixture run, Arsenal's fixture run, Saka. We can't have them all. Can't have Salah, and have Haaland. I mean, that is a struggle anyway. I've got them both, and yes, it's been lovely. It's been amazing. I've sort of reaped the benefits of that. But I'm going to have to lose one of them. And at the moment, it looks like it might be Salah losing them, but it's probably going to be for a 9 mil player. 9-ish, 9 to 10.5, I should say now. I don't know which one. I'm not sure, but I'm leaning towards Arsenal. But is it two? Can I squeeze in 2 9-point-something players?
Yeah. Like in order to, I have had a think around this, and in order to do that, you need to play like a 5-2-3, which structurally is awful. Like you have to have Rodgers, Minte, and Amad Diallo as well, like as your 3 backup midfielders, and even then, it's still a stretch. So it's one of those where I think we can only have one proper premium midfielder, unless you're crazy enough to go without Salah and Haaland. Not that anyone would do that, Reidy. But
welcome back.
yeah, welcome back, dude.
Why are you here?
But yeah, I think Cole Palmer for me not convincing at the moment. Certainly very underwhelming.
It's very tricky. I mean, like from my perspective, just on your question there, Meera, to get to 9.5s or a 10, and if you're going to do that, because for me, Saka is, I'm probably he's a season keeper, more than likely, unless at some point I notice certain players and I go, all right, okay, depending on Champions League and whatever's happening with Arsenal, I can move to guys because I can afford to do that. But I do have Saka and Palmer. And with that, I do have Jota and Diaz, who are both 7.5. Yeah. Now, I can afford that, obviously, because I don't have Haaland. I have Watkins and Havertz. But I do want Haaland at one point. So one of those players do have to be sacrificed. And that is going to be a Palmer, or it could be a Palmer or a Saka. But in my case, it's Palmer. At the same time, I do need to get rid of Jota, because I still can't afford to have even 2 7.5s, a 10, and Haaland and a Havertz maybe. So it becomes, what always is compromised then is by getting one of these premiums, and you are going to need to sacrifice elsewhere ultimately, and that's just what we have to deal with. But it's certainly tricky with those lower price midfielders. Smith Rowe's been a bit of a gift at the moment. He's been the best of the bunch, I'd say. Of Rodgers is not so much. Obviously, Rodgers has not.
Yeah, it's all bark, no bite.
Can I show you? Yeah. Can I show you a draft that I'm eyeing up at the moment?
Yeah. For a Gameweek 5 wildcard?
For Gameweek 6.
For Gameweek 6, cool. Yeah,
sure. Is that all right? Just to kind of show you what could be something that could be done.
Reidy knows me. Like, I love overthinking and planning ahead way too much. So this is perfect for me.
Well, so this is what I've got. So I've got Raya in goal, Pedro Porro. I've got Trent in defense and Gabriel there as well. Rodgers, Saka, captaincy for Game Week 6, but Mbumo, Foden, Vardy, Haaland, Calvert-Lewin, and obviously my bench is average. But yeah, that's super tempting.
Oof. I seen a wildcard draft also for this week, but it's that thing of, if I'm going to wildcard next week anyway, right? Why don't I go a week early, right?
Yeah.
There's always that sort of thing that people from that angle people look at. The issue is that you want to get Calvert-Lewin. You could have him this week, potentially. Everton score goals, as Mikey said. They're not the best at keeping them out, but they do score. Same with Vardy, you could argue. But also at the same point, I don't like how thin the bench is. That's what kind of makes it tricky for me. When I look at these sort of wildcard teams, I think that they're great at the moment. However, how long do you want those players, stinking out your team, so to speak? How many game weeks down the line do you want to get rid of them? Is that plan there?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, if you look at game week 7, yeah, okay, like there's I mean, I can play that same side pretty much. Yeah. Game week 8, sure, can probably play the same side there as well. It's fine. So there is flexibility there. So that's what I'm thinking. That's where I'm at the moment in terms of, but again, that's a really good point, really. Like, do you play the wildcard now in game week 5? Which is why I was looking at, okay, if there's a player that I could bring in, say if it was Vardy, do I bring him now and still play the wildcard? Kind of feels like a waste of a transfer, but also I don't feel the need to wildcard right now. If you look at my game week 5 side, are we looking at our game week 5 teams? Is it worth kind of going straight there, Chaz?
Yes.
Well, can I just ask a question about the wild cards? Real quick, if that's all right. The concern for me would be, what does the structure of this look like? Because we've talked about Foden, like he's going to be back at some point and nailed and playing 90 minutes. Whereas for whatever reason that we don't know, his minutes are being severely managed right now. I would have a couple of drafts ready to go, just in terms of a planning perspective. Have one where you're ready to hit the button that Foden is back and he's ready to go and he's ready to do what he did best last season, and another draft which says Foden is out and what does the team look like without him. I've definitely been doing a little bit of that. Cool. I like it.
But this was the reason why I pulled this one up specifically was because I can fit in 2 9-point-something players in the mid there with Haaland in there as well. Obviously, I don't need to have Trent, but again, my Liverpool bias is then telling me he's playing pretty mid. In the. I mean, it's not ideal if they're not keeping clean sheets, but his attacking potential is just fantastic at the moment. And I mean, if we ignore the last game week there, he's just looking really good, and I can just feel his haul coming as well. So, I wouldn't mind keeping one player there. But anyway, that's where I'm thinking. I know we weren't supposed to go that far ahead,
it's cool.
Game week 6, but since we were talking about the 9-point-something mids. I mean, I keep coming back to, damn, they've really got the pricing structure right this season. It's really nice that there's so many variations and options to work with.
That is a good point, but also I think that's what it makes it frustrating, but also fun because it's a challenge, isn't it? It's a challenge to go, okay, how can I plan this and how can I structure my team? What's interesting about your wildcard, Meera, is that you're gonna, if you do that next week, say, this is how mine will look in 7. So I'm going to be using 3 by then because I wildcarded it earlier. So obviously, with yours, if you wildcard next week by game week maybe 8, you'll have 3 or something like that, right? So if you look at my 7, that's where I land. Kind of Haaland. I'm still 3 Arsenal, like yourself. I think it was 3, right? You had Raya, Gabriel.
Yeah, I had Raya.
Saka. Yeah. So. Bumo's in there. Pedro, obviously, it's not ideal probably having him at that point. But for me, I'm thinking, do I want to use a transfer just to take him out? And then come game week 9, our teams are going to be even more similar. Yeah. Obviously, Wissa you can ignore because of the injury and so on. But I've got Foden, Haaland. Obviously, I've got the defender, which I know that you don't want to go there with, which I think is good anyway. And you've got enough cover on the bench then as well. You've got the likes of Robinson who you can bring in. Yeah, it's where I feel like a lot of people are going to end up and land within these game weeks. They're going to have very similar teams.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. And I think unfortunately, if I don't commit to wildcard, then I'd probably hold on to. I've got Jota at the moment, which I'm not feeling super confident about. Yeah, so if I don't wildcard, I've got the risky Pedro, risky Isak, and if I don't make a transfer as well, and I've got risky Jota as well. So this could be the game week where my rank comes tumbling back down to wherever I should be. My run of good luck will probably end with that. Who knows?
And you know what will be absolutely peak FPL in and amongst all of this, right? As well, is that, let's say this week, right? Hypothetically, and this is a proper curveball, and Kunku starts, and Sancho starts, and they both get a goal and an assist, because it's possible, right? They came off the bench against Bournemouth, right? And they turned the game around for them. What the heck do we do when we've got like good assets like that who have dropped in price with what's it called coming up? Because game week 6 they'll have Brighton and Forest, and Newcastle and Man United actually in between Liverpool and Arsenal. You know, not awful fixtures, like pretty rough fixtures, but in terms of like an FPL perspective, Newcastle and Man United certainly have been leaky this season as well. I'm just, you know, I do love talking and planning ahead, but like so often, you know, the best laid plans of mice and Meera often go wrong. You know, so
a caveat to that though is I'd go the opposite way. I don't think we've seen enough from Chelsea from a minute's point of view.
But by the time the wild card comes around, we'll have a lot more to put together.
Yeah. That's my point. So, for example, Chelsea play Bournemouth and Forest, which are okay fixtures. However, Brighton and did I say Bournemouth? Brighton and Forest. Brighton and Forest have okay defences from what we've seen.
Forest do have a suspiciously good defence, actually. Yeah, fair play.
Now, another player who we've not mentioned, who I would be wanting to get if you're wildcarding next week, is Semenyo instead of a Chelsea midfielder. Semenyo and Bournemouth play Southampton and Leicester in 6 and 7. So we talked about jumping on players when, you know, I know some people may have them, especially if they wildcard, you know, someone will get Semenyo. But I think if you're not having him in your team at the price point he's at, you can probably afford him. I think I'd rather go that way personally than get a Chelsea guy who is more expensive and by an extra $1 million or whatever. Still don't 100% know who plays two, you know, decent defenses. So yeah, that's my point on that one.
Yeah, and their fixture run from like 11 till 32, I think is ridiculous. I think they must like clump all of their bad fixtures into one moment and just have like an absolute belter streak in the middle of the season as well. So yeah, good on them.
Okay, but yeah, I think Chaz is like, please let me speak. Let me talk about Gameweek 5 teams now.
Never. We're going down the rabbit hole, Chaza. Join us.
Yeah, in Gameweek 6 and 7. I mean, I love it, but please save it for 2 weeks' time. Like, please, for dear life. I'd love it. I really appreciate it. Yeah, look, Gameweek 5 teams. Meera, considering you've got yours up, we'll start with you first, or is yours pretty much shown?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll show it to you like over here. So I've got 1 free transfer, not unlike Reidy, who's saving up all these transfers, putting us
for
all to
a very rainy day. Yeah,
I'm really impressed. I'm super impressed. I have been wondering who's going to get to 5 free transfers. So yeah, amazing. So I've got Henderson in goal, Porro, Trent and Robinson at the moment. To start in my back line, I've got Jota, Rogers, Smith Rowe and Salah captaincy at the moment, and Haaland, Isak and João Pedro up in the front, which I'm not super confident about. So as I mentioned, I've got 1 free transfer, not feeling good about Isak's minutes, not feeling good about João Pedro's minutes. Probably will end up making 1 transfer if I get that sort of inkling that, Yeah, I've been playing a lot more with vibes this season, so I think I'm just going to make a last-minute call. The weekend that Haaland got his hat trick, it was also the weekend that I captained Salah, and I switched that over very last minute as well, and they both got 17 points. So I'm just going to keep riding the lucky wave that I've been riding if I can, and just make a last minute call of who I take out in the forward line to replace with maybe a Vardy and jump on that Vardy party. But I'm also considering, do I just play Gabriel? Because it could be a 0-0.
Yeah. One thing, just quickly, did you on the wildcard have Watkins or not?
I didn't.
Okay. Now,
I didn't.
How much do you have in the bank, Meera?
Are you doing live transfer?
At the moment,
yeah. How much? Do you have in the bank?
Right now, I've only got 0.2, so I can't go Isak to Watkins.
Okay. Right.
I can't. I would love to. I'm missing it.
Yeah, someone who's
I'm missing it by 0.3. Yeah. And I was saying earlier when you dropped off that it's all the price drops I've had. Like if I hadn't have had maybe 2 price drops in Quanta, that would have been a bit of a difference there. I saw a price drop in Murphy. Yeah, so.
Isak to Solanke works.
Isak to Solanke works. Isak to Vardy, and go against your guys.
I prefer the Vardy one, considering what you said as well, Rev. We need to see a bit more from Solanke and Spurs.
Yeah.
Brentford, who are decent. I mean, especially against City, they put on a good performance. So I'd be leaning towards Vardy for this week, but
yeah, it's tempting. I think Vardy's definitely... So, funny enough, Vardy's been definitely on my mind. I think like when I was doing my planning for game weeks 7 to 9, given that they've got a decent fixture run, 7 to 9. Let me have a quick look. Is that right? Or am I making that up? Nope, 7 to 9. They've got Bournemouth, Southampton, Forest, 7 to 10, geez, and Ipswich after that as well. So Vardy seems like a good move, and then probably bench him, or not bench him and just play him against Arsenal as well. You never know. But just really good fixtures there for Leicester. So yeah, very tempting.
Yeah, I think the advantage... Sorry, go on, Reidy.
I was just saying that would be Isak to Vardy, right? Not Pedro.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, and I have money in the bank to make other moves. Yeah, but look, if I wasn't wildcarding in 6, so I'm not decided, right? If I wasn't wildcarding in 6, I would have gone into the following game week, so game week 6, with 2 free transfers, and I probably would have taken Henderson out, brought in Raya, for example, and I would have gone Salah to Saka and kept Jota for the Wolves fixture. That would give me my 3 Arsenal against that really nice fixture against Leicester in 6, with my triple up on Arsenal.
Yeah,
but I don't want to.
Compared to wildcarding, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
I think, and this is just to throw in another little,
please do
bit of information, which is, I think if I was undecided as to whether or not I was going to wildcard, I would pick the player that allows me the most flexibility in terms of playing them or not playing them. Now, what we've said about Vardy is that he's probably not going to be someone to play in, is it, 7 and 8, did we say? When are we not playing Vardy if we have him? Sorry.
Game week 6. Yeah.
Game week 6
against Arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. I think the player that allows the most flexibility then, therefore, is probably Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Because you can play him every week for the next however many weeks.
5 to 11.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have a benching headache, and when you've already got like other little fires that you might want to put out, maybe even going to someone like Calvert-Lewin allows you to push that wild card back to like game week 8.
Yeah.
Wait for more information, and then move on that instead. Just a thought, but
good advice. No, I like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Be good to see where you end up then, Meera, with that choice. You're itching to make a move. I know that much.
I know. I'm planning out my.
No.
Well,
Chaza, it's like crack to you, isn't it, lad? Like, you just love seeing a little live transfer, don't you?
So it's so annoying because like I've got plans tomorrow, and I'm so thinking, will I be around at 8 p.m. just before 8 p.m. to hear about any news and make that decision? It sucks, right? Like our deadlines are on Saturday evening. If you're not around, if you've got things going on Saturday night, especially. So I feel like I'll probably make my moves earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Fair play.
I think what I will say is I think Isak will play. That's just my opinion. I think he'll play just because it was an eye issue. That was a minor issue. It's not. I know he's my Newcastle friend who plays FPL TT.
Ooh, Newcastle friend.
Yeah,
Newcastle friends. Oh,
he's had a lunch. He's had a lunch with Eddie. Says the guy who's got a Tottenham book in his wardrobe and he sports Arsenal and he's got an Ipswich shirt on. Don't you talk to me? But he said he's had lunch with Eddie today and he's basically said that Isak's not been seen in training all week. But it's an eye.
Who else have they got? Yeah.
It's an eye and a toe issue though. Like really, is Eddie Howe going to be able to like afford to not play him? I think he'll play. And
for what it's worth as well, I think João Pedro plays. You might not need to do anything.
So maybe I just leave it. Do I play Gabriel ahead of Robinson?
You know what though? Last week you didn't start Gabriel.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm not much of a vibes type manager, but even I'm sensing a few little vibes there.
So what you're saying? Start him then instead of Robinson?
Start him.
No, I'm saying keep him on the bench just purely because it's worked for you.
Keep as it is now.
Yeah. And then if João Pedro or Isak doesn't play, then comes on and gives you another bullet header. Right.
Yeah. So I could just roll the transfer as planned. That was my plan to just roll the transfer. I had no plans to take Isak or Pedro out.
Yeah.
I'd rather roll if it was me. I'd rather roll.
Yeah, I'd rather roll
Wildcard and then have the 2 frees basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it allows you to hokey cokey with Arsenal if you want to between 9 and 11 or 12. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it definitely gives me more flexibility, and I'm getting a lot of FOMO with Reidy's 5 free transfers as well.
Yeah.
I feel like I need a few.
I'm doing that to fix my mistake though as well, Meera, at the same time. Not having Haaland, but we won't say too much.
Well, Reidy, you're next.
I am indeed. So I think I'm on the wrong. That's on the wrong screen actually. I think that's my plan.
That's right. While you change, we'll go straight to Revs. Gameweek 5.
Sound. Yeah. So at the minute, not making a transfer, even though Wisa is injured. I think my team is kind of looking after itself. I'm kind of hoping, in a way, that Salah has an absolute stinker again, so that I can justify transferring him out and like spreading the funds. But the thing is, like, what I want to do at some point is maybe go Salah to Saka and Wisa to Havertz. I mean, that's my transfer plan for a week's time, and then I can field again like a perfectly viable team, and that's going to be okay. But until then, Nketiah, I'll be honest, was a pure vibes pick. Like, I just think his manager's been bigging him up in the press conference, saying we wouldn't have spent 25 mil on him if he wasn't going to be starting. Obviously there was no attacking returns there, but he's in a good side. He's got Eze behind him, Eze there as well. Minte against Forest. I need to see something from him as well. It was just a poor game week last week, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the team is completely broken and needs ripping up either. So hopefully we'll start seeing what we know we can from some of these players and have a better game week this week.
Yeah,
I really like this side.
Yeah, I think from what you were saying there also about Nketiah, he scored midweek. I know it's the only Carabao, but he scored midweek, and I think that he is going to get chances. So I think he's a fine pick for now. It is Man United as well, who, to be honest with you, should have conceded against Southampton. They were really poor in that first half, and they got away with it with Onana and the penalty. So yeah, I don't mind Nketiah a bit, mate.
Yeah, he's one of those cheap players. Like technically speaking, I should have gone with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but I bought in Salah in game week 4, and he finally blanked. I just didn't want to curse Everton. We need all the help we can get without me picking our players. Reidy, genuinely will tell you what's my look like in FPL, mate, in terms of bringing in players. And
your luck isn't great, but Everton and Newcastle never seem to.
Mate, I'm cursed. Yeah. I am a curse for.
He reminds
for
me.
FPL
I
players.
don't know if you've seen the film The Mummy, but there's a guy in that who opens this chest, and he's like, "It's cursed." And he just reminds me of that every time.
Yeah. I am. I'm cursed. I'm cursed. Yeah. 100%. I am cursed.
But I did see the person who was talking about Wildcard, and I said they were having Everton players in their Wildcard. Did put a message in one of our WhatsApp groups saying, "Need to tell you how amazing DCL and McNeil are." So this Everton thing is quite catching from somewhere. I don't know where, but it's catching.
He's a nailed cheap attacker on penalties with good fixtures.
Good fixtures.
It's the 5 Infinity Stones of FPL. He just fits the bill. So, and whilst, as Meera said earlier, there's not a lot of options in our forward lineups, he's just an absolute shoe-in and will do all right. And for 5-point-whatever million, you can't really expect too much more.
Fair play. I'm ready now, Chaza.
Cool. Beautiful. Thank you.
My side probably looks the most different to anyone's, to be honest with you. I've got no Salah, no Haaland, and 3 Arsenal in the hardest or toughest fixture of the game week. And I'm benching a City. What is actually going on, to be honest? Why am I playing this game? But yeah, that's how my team looks this week. A little bit sort of, do I play Rodgers? Do I play Pedro? Because I know that João Pedro plays on Sunday, right? So he has got an extra day, technically, if he trains today and so on. So that is the decision that I'll make, which I did the same last week, actually. I benched Rodgers, and then he ended up coming on for his 2 points because Pedro didn't feature. So I'm keeping my faith in the Liverpool players, albeit that, there may be minutes, minutes risks and things like that. Gakpo played really good, but I don't think he loses his place to Diaz. I think if there's going to be a change, it might be Jota, unfortunately. But I'm feeling a bit more bullish, regardless of Odegaard being missing, which I think he is a big miss for Arsenal. Don't get me wrong, that's very obvious, but I still think they've got enough to score against City. So I'm hoping that works out for me this week. It might just be a 0-0, and I'm absolutely messed it up. Palmer still for another week, and I'm going to put my faith in an Ipswich defender.
I like that.
Yeah,
I really like that. Yeah,
I'm just gonna do it. I mean,
I'm actually tempted myself to do that.
I wish it was.
I went Johnson. You've got a playing Ipswich defender. I've got Johnson, who's not getting any minutes at the moment.
Yeah, I wish it was Lee Davis. I'm not gonna lie. I wish it was, because I don't know if you guys have seen. He's actually done all right for Ipswich this season. So when I wildcarded,
he's doing great. Yeah.
But if you look at Davis, he's 14 points for a side have just been promoted. Last two games, not a clean sheet and an assist and a clean sheet. But hey ho, I've got this guy who apparently is a set piece threat, which we've not seen as of yet. So
speaking of set piece threat, are you not tempted by a Trent captain? You know me, man. I love a Trent captain shout. I look at this team and I go, Trent's the captain this week.
So let me tell you something funny from last season.
Go on.
So I captained Trent when he was. So I think he had got a couple of returns already, and earlier on, and he was, like, we could sense that there was going to be another big return, right?
It's inevitable.
You feel it, and we're feeling that right now as well. Anyway, so me and FPL Curran, who's one of our Sydney Australian FPL managers over here as well, he sends me a message saying, I'm feeling Captain Trent. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I was feeling it as well. And I had a shit season last season. So I was like, oh, YOLO. Yeah, I'm just going to play however I want, vibes. Anyway, I captained Trent. He got 1 point, I think. Or not even that. I think he got 0 points or something. I don't know. No, 1 point. I think he got 1 point. It was just ridiculous.
That was me with Trippier last season, yeah. And
then the following week, he got 15-pointer. And that's basically what's just happened.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his 1 point. Mm-hmm. Is this the week that he'll get his 15-pointer?
I would say yeah.
Spicy.
If it wasn't for the fact that Alisson might be out, I would say it's possibly, but
I think Alisson's fine.
You reckon he'll be okay? I think Bournemouth haven't been a bad side though. I know it was Chelsea, but they were really good against Chelsea. They've looked pretty good attacking wise. I don't know if I want to take that risk when I've just seen Ollie Watkins score 2 goals at home, albeit Everton, but Wolves for me.
Oh, all right, mate. Flipping it.
There is, yeah. All right, mate. Yeah, so Wolves are just as bad. They can score, but they cannot defend. So I'd have to go with Watkins this week. Now I think his minutes are kind of back. Funnily enough, Duran's had a price rise last night, and I don't know how many people are expecting him to start, but
his minutes are a bit of a risk, yeah.
Yeah. But for me, it's Watkins.
It's because everyone's seen the ice pack on Watkins' leg and just, absolutely shat the bed. That's
true. But we've got Emery's presser for some reason. I don't know if he gets up late or something, but he has his pressers at 3 p.m., 3 p.m.
Good evening.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
I don't know what he has a lie-in the morning. He's like, right, guys, I'll just turn up in the afternoon. But we'll see what he says. But from what I've seen so far, it is just a precaution for Watkins. So I'm going to stick, and unless I hear otherwise, I'm going to stick with him as captain this week. And that's me. On to you, Chaza, buddy. I've taken enough time.
Cool, thank you. No, sorry about that. I've got a couple of things I've just had to sort out just while you're speaking. But great sides as always, guys. Now, for me, I'm probably going to take a minute. I'm rolling. Yes, no live transfer. But this would mean if we roll, we've got 3 free transfers heading into next week. So if you're tuning into next week's episode, they're all probably going to be live as well. And we could be cooking up a storm. I'm only joking. It's probably cooking up blanks anyways. But it's just side 3-4-3, Henderson, Alexander-Arnold, Robinson, Vardy, Jota, look, Gibbs White. I don't know. He's like our bear in South America, you know what I'm saying? Eze, probably going to give another penalty to someone this weekend. Salah's captain. Look, the Rodrigo days are probably over by now. Pedro's got the life-saving flag on him. And no captaincy on Haaland. Oh, yeah, forgot. The bench. Expected celebrations. Another flag. Another country. And the guy that comes on at halftime. There you go.
Yeah.
So just before we move on, though, I'm Captain Watkins. You're Salah. What about you, Meera and Mikey?
Salah.
I'm on Salah.
Oh, God. So 3 Salah, 1 Watkins. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I'm either going to love being at the game because I'm watching Liverpool win or do well, but I'm going to potentially hate it because I know that people are captaining Salah and he's going off. So, oh, well, what can you do?
Mate, you know that you've still got Muniz in your team, right?
Oh, Chaz? Still got Muniz.
Chaz, wake up, lad.
Yes, I got Muniz in my team.
Why?
Rodgers instead?
Maybe. Yeah, look, at worst, I'll probably just put Rodgers on field. But I'm just going to wait on more information.
Mate, what is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas? Like, Muniz right there is absolutely stinking up your team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mate, DCL vibes, mate. Nketiah vibes.
Just make a live transfer now.
Join my little differential.
Yeah, just do DCL now, man. Come on.
Do it. Live transfer, Chaza. You know what?
No.
You ask us every week, but now we're putting it back to you, mate.
You're going to wait till next week. That's what you're going to do.
Do unto others, Chaza, as you would have them do to you. That's what I'm saying, mate. Make a live transfer. Because if you want to see it from us, mate, you've got to set that example.
No. No.
I can see him in like
your face.
I thought he was possessed.
Peer pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, Chaz.
You're waiting till next week.
He's standing firm. Fair play. I'm rolling this week.
Rude.
Well.
I know. I am very rude. All right.
Fair play, dude.
Cool. One last thing. Captain's Corner. We've got 3 players all been mentioned. So we're just going to bring up some stats, if you don't mind. So we'll start off with Haaland at home to Arsenal. Yes, probably over 70% ownership now. He's blanked on both occasions against the Gunners last season. However, he has scored 9 goals in his first 4 games. Now, this is a very intriguing stat. So last season, he had 1 big chance and 4 shots. The season before that, in the 2022-23 campaign, he had 5 big chances against Arsenal and 9 shots and still managed to score. Would have been 3 goals. Mo Salah is at home to Bournemouth. He got his first blank of the campaign, surprisingly, at home to Nottingham Forest last Saturday. However, he's ranked second only behind Haaland in shots in the box and shots on target, which does indicate his very strong goal threat. He's averaged 10.8 points per game under Slot, even though it's only 3 games worth of data. And Ollie Watkins scored a brace at home to Everton last week. He's matched Erling Haaland's 8 big chances so far this campaign. He's had more than 304,000 transfers in. He could well have his mojo. And we also saw in the midweek outing against away at Young Boys too, we've seen his minutes being improved over time too. That's it for Captain's Corner, short and sharp, because let's face it, we are hitting nearly 2 hours. I don't know how we're still here, but we are. I mean, we are just vibing so well.
The vibes have been strong.
The
vibes have been strong.
You wanted to say that because you love
chat.
Wars, don't you, Mikey? The vibes have been strong. The thoughts with you. I know, yeah.
Strong B vibes.
Do or do not. There is no vibes.
Well, yeah, there's been a few updates in terms of pressers, but Kepa returns. The return of Kepa. And
more Star Wars references. I love it, man.
There we go.
Carlson's still out, which is probably no surprise. So, yeah, that's all we're getting so far. Guardiola is probably still going to fraud us. Oh, he's unsure about De Bruyne. That's your update, Meera.
Oh man,
that's all right.
Nothing to go off this week, is it? Like everyone's just.
I feel like Gameweek 5 is that. I don't know, Game of Thrones episode that builds a story but nothing really happens. Kind
of like in season 4, 5, and 6, where they spent the whole time giving all of the characters loads of abilities that they're never going to use. Yeah, that bit.
Pretty much.
I don't know. Ask Reidy. He's watching it at the moment.
I missed that then. I hope that wasn't a spoiler because I'm going to kill you.
Spoiler? I hardly know her.
Yeah. But yeah, he said he feels a little bit better, but not yet. 2 days off, tomorrow training, and we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I want him for 6. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, Captain's Corner, Chaza, nice and short, sharp, and
concise.
Concise, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Well, before I forget.
Before you fall asleep? What? Like,
mate, this is gone for an hour 53. Like, come on, I've got one of my main grand finals to do, second time in 3 years tomorrow. So I better try and get some sleep and do some timestamps. But before all that, Meera, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, Meera, excellent.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Honestly, I've really enjoyed coming on last time, and it's been a great chat. I can't believe we've been chatting almost 2 hours. But thanks for all the advice as well. Really appreciate just being, having you guys as a sounding board. So yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, it's been really good fun. I feel like we've had a good laugh. If there's one thing that we always get in between the stats and the discussion on the FPL Addicts, it's always a good laugh, isn't it? So can't complain.
Speaking of good laughs,
Just unblocked. He's been blocked for about 6 weeks.
Longer than that, I think.
I've also heard we've got a new trailer. Am I right in saying there's a new outro trailer? I'm going to probably give that a test. Do you know much about that, Reidy?
No.
All right. We're going to leave it as that. All the best, everyone. May your arrows be green and bowl on the match day.